Hello and welcome back to the Wicked Wild Podcast, a Pharaoh podcast for the uncivilized horror fans. And in our last review, we finished up the block of movies that Jamie had curated for our audience. We hope you enjoyed that. And we are going straight in to the next 2 months with the Motown master,
Wow.
the Motor City maestro, our own John McGee, who has put together something really special for our audience. And we're calling it Rock of Cages. John has given us a Nicolas Cage block to go into the next 2 months. And we're this episode specifically that we're starting off with is just going to set the pace for the rest of the movies that John's got lined up for us. This one in specific is proudly brought to you by the Alpaca Sustainability Society. So we're glad to have that sponsor on for this episode. And as I mentioned, this is John's block. So I'm going to start with John. How's it going, John?
It's going. And after watching this movie, it's makes you question a lot of things.
It sure does. So give the people a quick rundown of what they can expect over the next couple of months and maybe a recommendation for a snack and a drink.
Oh, sure. This snack and a drink. I specifically was thinking of the snack and the drink today because I was like, yeah, because poor Jamie was like, oh, I forgot.
Yeah, every week.
So I tried to remember. So I think if you're going to sit down and watch Color Out of Space, in addition to probably the stuff you're going to smoke, things you're going to drop, in addition to all that, you're probably going to want to have a nice glass of pink strawberry lemonade to go with all of the pink, magenta, purple colors that you got in this movie. And then to go with Nick Cage's wonderful garden that he was so proud of that scared the bejesus out of me when I saw this. We're going to go with a nice frise salad. So you got to get those tomatoes in there.
That does sound like the kind of thing that this Nicolas Cage would be all about. That's what he would serve, I guess. Very nice. And then we also have tonight, we have Jamie up in Jersey. How's it going, Jamie?
It's going all right.
Good. So the good news is your love of Nicolas Cage, family drama, and Lovecraft stories are all well represented in this podcast.
Yep.
So it's all uphill from here. That's the good news. So I guess my question to you is, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Besides the personal shit I got going on, and then I had to watch this movie. No, I'm alive is all I have to say.
That's a lot. And for those that aren't watching our YouTube, Jamie has actually brought her magenta with her tonight. She's
wearing like the only pink item I have. That's not. I also have a pink dress, but this was just more comfortable to throw on because it's a
perfect
shirt. But yeah, I tried to stay on theme.
Exactly. Yeah, the least you could do for a movie that you love so much, and we're going to get into that. We're going to give you your platform here in a minute to get into it. But I am not introducing Eli tonight. He had some stuff come up, which is a shame because he is our Lovecraft boy. This is right in his wheelhouse. So I'm sure he'll drop some hints about where he landed on this movie in our next review, but he just couldn't be here tonight. So no Wicked Whisper. We're going to jump right into her on the fly synopsis. And because this is the John block, I'm going to ask John a question to see if Jamie or I have to give the synopsis for this movie this week. So let's say you decide to get off the grid with your family and you want to be super trendy and clever with the livestock you've decided to raise to provide a steady income for your family. These are actual trendy livestock options that some people are trying to make commercially viable right now. So which one are you raising on your new super hip farm that you have in the wilderness? Is it going to be African pygmy goats? Or Mangalitsa? And let me just tell you, Mangalitsa is a sheep pig.
Man.
It's a pig with sheep wool, which I thought Jamie would appreciate.
I've never even heard of that thing, so I'm gotta pick that one.
I kind of gave it away, but obviously that's Jamie.
Oh, fuck. I haven't done this in forever, and this is the one. Okay, you know what?
You've got to go look up some pictures because it's pretty much a real squonk is what these things are.
Is it? Wait, okay. Well, we'll look at that in it. We'll look.
I could have swore she would have been the pygmy goats.
The cute things. Yeah. No, wait. What? Sorry. What is this called? You're right. I have to look it up real fast. Sorry, people that have to sit. What is it called?
Manga,
spell it.
Just like manga. Japanese,
okay, manga.
Like Litza, Litza.
Mangalitza. I've never even heard of these things.
Oh, got it. Mangalitza pig. Oh, that's cute.
Exactly. See, it's a little squonk. Little kinky-haired squonk. Anyway.
Anyway, I'm sure that was very entertaining for anybody listening. Please, I can't. So, asking me to explain a movie that I tried really hard to pay attention to. I don't want to say like I didn't pay attention. I tried really hard to pay attention to. But you're talking to someone, as Dave said, who is not a Lovecraft fan. And this is apparently based on a story, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But this is based on a Lovecraft story of the same name. I looked it up. So what we got in this movie, though, and if you've read the story, I'm guessing it's related or similar. I did not. What we have here, and this is going to be the best I can and shows that we truly do this on the fly, is we have a family who has decided to move to their farm that they obviously inherited from like a grandparent. Well, I'm talking about the kids, I guess. So we have a nice family living on a farm, an alpaca farm. One night, when the parents decide to have sex for the first time in 6 months, a meteorite, and I'm using air quotes, strikes the front lawn. Everything is pink and magenta and purple. They go out. They call it a meteorite. It's like an alien life form. It's something that strikes in their yard, proceeds to, I guess, take over everything in their fucking farm, including them, including the plant life, including the animals. Everything goes pink, which is really fucking pretty. I would love to have these pink plants. Like, all I kept saying was like, I want these plants. Like, I want a bouquet of these pink plants. I want like
the like, pink praying mantis in there.
He's like one of my only notes is that the pink praying mantis, especially following Pan's Labyrinth. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do the short chaos ensues, but like, so something takes over. Everybody starts to get a little fucking weird. We will get into it. Animals, plant life, like we said, the people start to fucking. We will talk about what happens to some of these people, but this family suffers unfortunate events that we don't really fucking know why, from at least what I can understand, because this is a Lovecraft story, and we don't have Eli tonight to explain it to me. Not that you guys probably can't, but I just know Eli would have had either read this. I know Eli would have something to say about this movie.
Oh, he would have dined out on this whole thing.
He's sorely missed tonight, but for someone who hasn't read the story, it's that's about it. That's all I can tell you. I think that's a short version. That's what happens. Chaos ensues, like we like to say.
Any major points are missed.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
So we could discuss what that all means or what it is or what's going on, but that's what happens.
So, John, we're going to let you open up. Obviously, set the table for the Rock of Cages, why you chose Nick Cage and why you chose the movies within Nick Cage, and what's your experience with this one specifically?
I don't want to give away what's coming, but I did throw a bone to Jamie in my my picks here.
Is it the last one? It might be the last one. Right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the last one. And as she's mentioned, I've had to stretch our theme a little bit to include some movies like that one. So, but I honestly, I couldn't tell you why, where, or how this came to be, but like Nick Cage became like a little bit of a meme during the pandemic between a bunch of people that I knew before you guys on Twitter when we would watch the Joe Bob Drive-In show when that came back. So because it became like such a little thing, I was like, what better way to kind of like point back, remember that for a hot second, but like actually do Nick Cage horror movies, because I've never seen any of these on this list that I picked from. None of them. Mm-hmm. So I'm a first time watcher of all of these. I've always wanted to see this one in particular.
Oh, wait, you've never seen any of these? I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. You picked all movies you've never seen. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It's a bold move,
not like me. I've all movies I've seen.
I just picked a theme and I stuck with it.
You did stick with it.
And to your point, when this movie came out, I can see why he was a meme, because didn't he come out with like 10 movies in those?
Oh, it was
10
crazy. And like, I think 3 out of them were like on Shudder, like for first run.
Yeah, Wally's Wonderland is like one. Mandy,
then
right?
there's
Didn't these
4.
all come out at the same time? This
Mandy,
one,
this one,
Wally's Wonderland.
Wally's
Mom and Dad.
Wonderland. Oh, I didn't see that one either.
Which one?
Oh, you don't like Mom and Dad.
Oh, I didn't see that either.
I remember hearing reviews about it. And then what was something Ghost Town, something like he's in like some sort of like Mad Max movie.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Like
I don't know.
thing on Shudder. I haven't seen either. I hear it's really kind of, well, like every Nick Cage movie is probably pretty bad. I will say, except this one, I actually like this. So, but no, this is my first time watch. I wanted to watch it for a long time. I'm glad it was still on Shudder, so I didn't have to pay for it. But no, I was really impressed with the visual style, and I was even more impressed that Nicolas Cage was allowed to do like 4 or 5 different accents and voices all within one movie, and it kind of works.
Yeah.
In a very odd but yet satisfying way. And the way he goes off on his kids, I'm like, oh man, you're like living out a fantasy of every parent out there that's literally want to say all this shit to their kids. And also be crazy. And you can't get out of a Nick Cage movie without like a freak out in a car or like on his own. I mean, and this one isn't quite as good as Mandy, but it's a good one. Like, yeah. I mean, I would like, if you take any hallucinogenics, I would caution you from watching this movie while you're on it, because there's some stuff in there that's kind of like, at least for me, was unexpected. And we'll probably get to like the body melting. Oh my gosh.
Oh my
like
God,
I was not expecting that.
Mhm. Now, we're talking alpaca bodies or human bodies?
I think he meant the humans.
I was and that was the other thing too. And my mind is drawing a blank, and I should have taken notes for this for once, but I want to say there was probably at least 5 like homages to like big horror movies. And the first one that comes to mind is The Thing.
The Thing. Oh yeah, yes.
There's and I want to say there was an Evil Dead one I caught in there too, and I can't remember what it was.
Probably,
but there's a ton of them, but I thought they weren't done too cute. They were nice and they fit the story, and it wasn't just a wink and a nod just for the wink and nod sake. It made it work.
Yeah, there was the Necronomicon. Sorry, if that's what you're talking about, Evil Dead. There was the Necronomicon was on the floor. It's in my note, but that was one. As I'm saying, I don't know. It was my first note. It's that the Necronomicon is on the floor.
And you said you tried to pay attention. It sounds like you paid attention to me. But no, I was suspicious I would enjoy this, but I wasn't sure. So that's the reason why I put it on the list. And I knew this was going to torture Jamie. So that's the reason why I have at least a prize at the end.
Yeah. So you're 1 for 1 so far, it sounds like.
For myself.
Oh, for him. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I have a feeling the next 2 are going to be rough for everybody.
Well, I have to go back and look. I know one of them is going to be rough for me, and then I know Jamie and I are on different sides for the last one for sure. But that'll make for a fun conversation. So, Jamie, tell us about your experience. Was this your first watch too of this, or have you seen it?
Surprise! It was. No, yeah, it was. It was. As John mentioned, I think these all kind of came out at the same time. Now, it didn't go without a secret. I don't like Mandy. And Mandy was not a first watch for this podcast. So like I had seen Mandy. I don't know which one came out first, but there's a good chance it's a good chance they both existed when I watched Mandy and said, I'm not watching another fucking Nicolas Cage color movie. And I say that because Mandy was all fucking red. So I just did it. And Lovecraftian, like I read enough about it. I was like, I'm just not gonna like this. Did I like hate it? It's weird. I think I hate Mandy more. And I think it's just because
Mandy more than
Mandy pisses me off. Oh, yeah. I think I hate Mandy. I don't hate Mandy more. I know Eli has some problem with her, but I think I hate Mandy more. It feels like it's trying harder or too hard or something. We've gotten into Mandy, so I won't even like. So, did I enjoy this movie? No, but I also it's not my type of movie.
You're not pissed off that you watched.
I'm not pissed off. I think Mandy pisses me off. Things like Midsummer piss me off. This like didn't even piss me off. I was just bored. Like one of my major notes, as always with Jamie, is like it was slow. Like there are moments in it that we are going to talk about that I was just like, holy fuck, what the fuck is happening? In like sometimes the best way, but they're so far between. I don't want to say few and far between. Maybe it's not even few and far between because once they kick off, they kind of happen, but it takes a really, really long time to get there for me. And no, the family, shockingly to me, except for the youngest kid, I couldn't really fucking stand him. But the other two were like fine. The parents were fine. I mean, like I did say right off the bat, I'm like, wow, why is Nick Cage in this? He's not really being Nick Cage. And then we got there and I was like, oh, that's why Nick Cage is in this. But it takes a while for Nick Cage to even be Nick Cage. He's just playing this glasses sweater wearing dad who's just like, you're like, this doesn't seem right. So it's like, I like, obviously, like, this is such a dumb thing, but I like the color. They're Jamie colors. There's a lot of pink, purples, teals. Like, now we're talking this. We're getting out of Mandy. We're out of the fucking reds and the oranges and the yellow. And I know pink is a warm color too, but like pink is better than red. And it had purples and teals and like other things going on.
It was pretty.
It's very pretty in the color scheme. Yeah, it had its moments, but like I said, it took too long for things to happen for me. And I wasn't that invested in this family or in any of the nuances of this alien / whatever the fuck it is, which you guys will like, whatever. And I've never read Lovecraft, and it doesn't seem like Lovecraftian horror is my thing from like things that we've watched. And it's not that it's totally not my thing. It just seems to always be like a little meandering, a little slow, I love weird, but not weird in the way that I like weird. Just weird in like a bizarre, like, what the fuck am I seeing? I'm not on hallucinogens. I've never done hallucinogens, and I don't really want to experience it like this because I'm sober. So what the fuck am I looking at right now? So that's just like, that's like me. So that's a me thing. But no, I'm not going to sit here like rant about this movie. I just, it's just like I won't watch it again. I've seen it now. Like I said, it's fine. At least like, nobody like was super offensive to me. They just like were just like meh. And I do have to ask why the sons were named Jack, Ben, and then the daughter is Lavinia. Like, I could not get behind why this family like couldn't give them all unique names or like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on there?
Favorite is immediately.
Well, she's the first too, right? Yeah. I assume, is she the oldest? I think she's the oldest because she sounded like she was when she said she couldn't do this by herself or whatever, and she seemed like she was in charge when like the parents like disappear. But
she's the favorite.
She's Lavinia. I looked up her name. I did, but like I'm just because obviously I was like, okay, you have a name like that, it means something. Like Jack, Ben, Lavinia. So those are my 2 cents on this movie.
Fair enough. So for me, this wasn't my first watch. I had watched this once before. I watched it when it came out because I did the opposite of what you did, Jamie, in that I saw Mandy, really loved it, got really excited about this whole SpectraVision thing. Yeah. It was like an A24 for the wacky people like me. Like SpectraVision, if you don't know, it's a new horror production company that's actually partially owned by Elijah Woods, who's a huge horror fan. So it's got a lot of these wacky B style movies, but I say wacky in a very endearing way. I'm not saying they're dumb necessarily. I mean, he's done some like Cooties that are intentionally goofy, but then he does these like art pieces, and we talked about Mandy, and I agree with you, Jamie. There's no reason to go into that because this is a different movie. It just shares a lot of the similar DNA. I mean, above and beyond Cage being in it, they're just both psychedelic films.
Yep, I mean, they're very different, but the same line, like you're saying. Like it's weird. Yeah. And so I was excited to see it, and when I saw it the first time, I thought, oh, that was decent. I like Mandy much better, and I didn't think about this movie again until we put it on the list. Like it just never crossed my mind. This movie, it has some of those wacky moments that I was talking about. I mean, it has some stuff like, oh wow, and I do love, and I don't know if this is a SpectraVision thing or if it's the kind of directors that they align with, but it seems like I can't think of any of the films that have come out under the SpectraVision label that weren't practical effects horror films. Like this is all practical, and I really dug that. I mean, even is it?
Yeah,
I thought I noticed heavy CGI.
Really, in what?
Like when the things crawl, we'll get there, but like when certain monsters crawled and when certain things came out, it looked very CGI to me. But,
well, the morphing, I mean, those were all real.
Oh yeah, that part when you see it up, but I like some of the movement looked a little too.
Okay. I'm trying to think because I mean, obviously there's animals in it and there's animal carnage, which is obviously overtly fake, and we've talked about that before, which it should be.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do like that a lot of their films, they do use a lot of practical effects, even if it's not solely what they're using. It is a big part of what they're doing with their stuff. I also recognize that this movie drags painfully for a big chunk of it. I agree with you completely, Jamie. I mean, literally when I first saw this, and I remembered this in this watch because I had the same reaction, except knowing that it probably wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. As soon as I meet Lavinia, I'm confident I'm going to hate her. She's just going to annoy me for the entire movie. And then you go through the movie and she's not nearly as insipid or frustrating as you thought she was going to be. I mean, when you first see her with a freaking pony and her fairy ring and her cloak on and her staff, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to hate this actress.
Yeah, she has a cape in 2020 or whatever year. This is like.
But luckily that all falls off pretty quick. I mean, obviously she's just somebody who's trying to find her sort of individual truth, like who she is and what she wants to do. She's deep into the Wicca and all that kind of stuff. So, but I still, and I think you mentioned this, Jamie, is it still takes so long to get anywhere because they spend so much time developing all of these characters that at the end of the day, by the time you've put them together, I don't care anymore. I've lost all radar for who's who and why I care. And, Chong's there as Ezra. That's really cool.
Ezra's in the woods.
You forget completely about him until he shows up in like the third act. And then I realize because I've read this story, I've read only a handful of Lovecraftian stories, but this is one of the ones I've read. And one of the things about Lovecraftian format is that its pace and its narrative meandering is kind of part of its quote unquote appeal. Like it does meander, and it's got huge exposition dumps, and it's dialogue heavy, and it's kind of ham-fisted in the way that you as the reader get a lot of this information. And this movie does a lot of that same stuff. It just dumps stuff on you from scene to scene, and you're supposed to like try and care. But I think that is one of the oddities of this form that we call Lovecraftian horror, is that it's very cerebral. And I don't mean cerebral in that you've got to be smart to get it. I mean, it's like in its own head way too much. Like the movie is way too much in its own head, just like Lovecraftian stories are way too much in their own head. And as a person who has had to manage being, in my personal life, I get way too in my own head. I have to realize that sometimes I'll create narratives in my own brain that are not real. And then I'll judge people off of stuff that is in this reality that's not happened in the real world. And I think that's a lot of kind of what Lovecraft is. You kind of resonate with. It's obvious that HP is that kind of person. Like he spends way too much time upstairs and not enough time in the real world. And his stories kind of represent a lot of that, which can be fun, but it can also be just like watching paint dry for big chunks of it. There's some fun Cage moments here. I agree with you, John. I think there are some moments where he turns the corner and he shifts gears, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a Cage movie. He's all about it. His whole alpaca obsession is hilarious. I got so tickled with that. And then his whole when he drinks, he becomes Jack from The Shining. Like literally, that's who he becomes as soon as liquor hits his lips. He reminds me of just one of those overtly pretentious people who decides that he's going to go live the simple life out in the woods, and if the rednecks can do it, it'll be easy for me as a highly intelligent human being to go out here and make a living. And it literally, and this is funny, as I was thinking about it this last time and I made the note, it reminds me literally of a guy who bought the farm across the road from my family farm. He was a professor. I can't remember if he was a physics professor. He was some sort of high science professor, and he bought this farm and he put this house that's all glass fronted so he could see the pastoral surroundings around him. And he couldn't do anything with the land. Like we literally, he asked us to tend the land and we could cut the hay and we got to keep the hay. Like that was the deal. So I have a very distinct memory. Still one of my favorite stories to tell of my dad. Of we were out there, it was middle of August. His was one of the last fields that we had cut, let it dry out. We were baling it that day and putting it on the trailer. And I won't say this guy's name, but this professor comes out with a lawn chair and a tall tea and sits in the field, like unfolds his chair and sits in the field drinking his tea and taking pictures of us while we were out there sweating our balls off trying to get this hay. And my dad's usually a pretty calm guy, but I remember distinctly him going over to me and asking, what are you doing? He said, "Oh, I just really interested in the interplay of, human labor and nature and all of that stuff." And he goes, and my dad turned to him and he goes, "You've got 5 minutes to fold that chair up and go back to the house before I make a bar stool out of that camera. Do you understand me?" And he walks back to the tractor. I'm like, "Bar stool out of the oh, I see. And but this guy reminds me of that professor. Like it's that kind of thing. He's just how hard could it be to raise tomatoes? And then his whole world's coming down because he realizes there's something to it. Like there's actual finesse and stuff. So I enjoyed that part of it. There's some really fun practical effects, as I said. We're going to get into some scene by scene play because there are a dozen scenes that are worth the conversation in this, if nothing else. But I do want to, ask, are there any questions? And as is our tradition in these blocks, I am going to let the block curator start us off. So John, what are the main things you want to talk about? What's the big notes you got?
I mean, the big notes, obviously, is color is huge. It's in the title. Mm-hmm. And it definitely gave off some Willy Wonka vibes. So, but I mean, honestly, the biggest thing that I like is just it's towards the end. It is literally the human Philadelphia experiment that we get in the front lawn. That is like the one of the wildest, craziest things that I was not expecting.
It doesn't stop.
No, that's, and I think it's definitely like a roller coaster where you have a really, really, really long ride at the top, and then once it gets going, it goes like full off the rails, like a lot more than I thought. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I have to say, this is probably one of the only movies that has a Lovecraft theme that actually felt like the way people describe what Lovecraft is. Mm-hmm. It actually seemed to kind of like get the assignment a little bit, even though it is very slow and very meandering at front.
But it is cosmic. It's cosmic horror. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is literally like fear of the unknown, which is, I guess it was nice until they started showing some stuff. I almost like not seeing the things and letting my mind kind of fill in that gap personally. But I know Jamie likes to see everything.
Yeah, I was getting so bored that I was like, if I don't see something fucking soon, I'm just like turning this off.
Yeah, I was kind of scared to see what those alpacas turned into, though, with the way that kid's face was. I'm like, oh boy, that's definitely not good. And what are you doing bringing your little brother back there? Like, come on.
Wait, what?
Well, there's a lot of dumb decisions in this movie. We could start there, but like, there's a lot of dumb shit that they do in this movie. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So the color pink, we're on board with that. That was the one thing we all liked, right?
The color pink, yeah.
Okay.
Everything was
so from there we can probably just kind of like let everything just fall apart.
Yeah, that's it. That's everything. His whole front lawn like starts to turn pink. Like it's like covered in pink. But yeah.
Yeah, it was weird to me that they went the tainted water route. I mean, it's cosmic, so it's literally everything it touches is what I'm to understand. But then they use this whole tainted water subplot to talk about how nefarious the thing is. And when he finds the breast implant in the shower,
whoa,
the little,
and he's like, the water is turning to plastic. I don't know what's happening. I'm like, I don't think it's the water, bruh. But
the water angle was weird with everything. I
mean, they even get into it later where they start talking about like it's infected everything, like it's in the air you breathe. It's just like how far it felt like this was like the beginning of Annihilation, like the part you don't see.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's what it almost felt like, is you're seeing like ground zero of what Area X becomes, because the way everything's just getting like taken over. And I guess that's where my mind went. And I love Annihilation, so I was just like, this is definitely, this is my kind of movie, except for the beginning. I do agree it's a little bit long and a little bit too meandering for me.
I never saw Annihilation, but the water thing, am I to believe too, like I know this like took over like everything it like touched, but like it seemed like the water aspect was like to the people. No, because like if you think about like the scientist didn't drink the tea, didn't drink the water, whatever, and like he was fine.
Yeah, he stayed safe.
The cop also, but the whole family who we see close-ups of all their water.
Yeah.
Throughout the beginning of the movie, like he's pouring the pitcher right away. Like the first time the family sits down, we see the son with the water at some point. We see the son drink with Chong and the thing. Like we see all of them drink water. So yes, it takes over everything, like you said, but the water thing seemed to be just the family, like just how the family got it. Even though it seems like it would have taken over them anyway, or maybe it did, and but like it's just it made a point to show us the water. And then, the scientist has to literally tell us it's the water is not safe or whatever.
Conveniently, that's what he was there for. Yeah,
that's what because that's what we need him for. But really, he serves no point to this movie because this thing was going to take over regardless. And
exactly.
He's not there for anything.
Yeah, I know the water isn't everything when a beam of light comes off of a pile of alpacas and burritos, the mom and son.
Yeah, into one thing. That has nothing to do. Yeah, nothing to do with water.
Exactly.
They were kind of near the well, maybe.
But I love that relation, John, of Annihilation. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. And the one I had thought of, which is also inspired by Lovecraft, is The Thing. I love those kind of creatures. And when I said cerebral, that's what I'm talking about, is that you never know exactly what the thing is, but knowing what the thing is never the point. The point is surviving whatever it is, because it doesn't seem like there's any way to get away. And that's the sense I got of this, to your point, Jamie, is that by the time you realize that there's something going on, it's way too late.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't even matter. It does not matter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although, like, the daughter seemed to realize almost immediately, just nobody would listen.
Yeah.
As she's cutting symbols and words into her body.
Flesh.
And then is totally fine 2 minutes later. Like, totally running around the rest of the movie. No bandages, no nothing. Just a little mark on her forehead to remind you that she cut up her whole body at some point. But she's totally fine now.
One of my favorite moments in the movie is when the dad and the mom get home from the hospital and he goes, "Oh my God, what did you do to your skin? Why are the alpacas out?" And
yeah, that's right too. And he says the alpacas like twice. He goes, "The alpacas." And I'm just like, okay.
Why his daughter is covered in scarification.
Yeah,
the freaking alpacas are out.
The alpacas.
Oh, man.
The mom cutting her fingers off too.
Ooh,
kind of fucking.
Yeah. She seemed like she was the punching bag of the entire movie. Like, she was just a poor character. And I say pathetic in that I'm supposed to feel sorry for her. I don't mean pathetic in that she's a terrible actress or a terrible character, but throughout the movie, she's the pathetic character.
I mean, they start her with cancer for really no reason, because that doesn't serve anything to this movie unless, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it doesn't. It's a backstory that, unless it just wants you to feel sympathy, like you said, for the character, for the family, because they're dealing with this, but like they only mention it like in the couple of times in the beginning. So you're thinking, oh, this is going to impact in some way, but her cancer neither hinders nor like, enhance it. Like it has nothing to do with what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just a plot point that just gets completely dropped because she has all these other things happen to her that have nothing to do with her backstory of having cancer, which no, you don't need a full, but it just seems like it's there for I guess it is sympathy or something. It's just to drive sympathy, or is that you care about this family in some way before all these things happen to them, because like it's important to note, and I think we did, but like that, like this family doesn't deserve any of it. Nobody's like bad. Nobody's going out. Nobody's doing anything. They didn't steal someone's land. They didn't they're not assholes. They're not conning people. Like they're just a normal, for all intents and purposes. Yeah. they're not so normal, but they're just a normal family.
Yeah, they're
And
a
then this shit
nominally
just, like-
functional family.
Yeah, and then this shit just fucking like takes over. But
Yeah.
that's why like the cancer thing, it can only be there to make me care about them more.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
It's a weird choice, especially with the way her story ends. Like,
yeah.
cancer was the least of her worries. I'll put it that way.
by the time we get there.
But
yeah.
I agree. I don't know what it was supposed to do, and it never did. Whatever it was supposed to do, it didn't. At least not for me.
Yeah.
So,
I thought like, we start the movie literally with the daughter doing like a I'm probably gonna use the wrong, but like a spell, so to speak, because I don't speak like Wiccan or witchcraft or whatever, but like a spell to rid her mom of the cancer, right? Like that's what she's
Right.
kind of saying, like rid her mom's body of the cancer. So that's how this movie starts. So I'm like in my mind already, it's like this is important, whether it's going to serve a purpose, whether it's going to like aid the mom, whether it's going to drive something, and then it's just like it's not important at all. It's just her backstory.
yeah, even to the mom. The mom is much more concerned with the faulty Wi-Fi and
Her job,
career
yeah.
Yeah.
She is
The fucking dish, fix the dish, the Wi-Fi in the dish. Or like, first of all, you're living on a goddamn farm. That's,
Yeah.
That's
it's never
what
going to be good.
happens.
No.
So, since we're talking about the mom and some of the other characters, I am curious. What are your all's favorite characters? Like, who were the people that you related most with? Because there's a lot to choose from, and they sure as shit spent enough time developing them and fleshing them out to give you some sort of empathy for them. But who hit for you and who missed?
For me, they were all just middle of the road. I don't know.
Nobody stood out.
Nobody like stood out. Like I said, I didn't hate anybody except maybe the youngest kid. But I also didn't like love anybody. I know it's rare for me to say. I kind of liked the daughter, and I say that because she's a child, so to speak. I mean, she's a teenager, but and we know how I feel about. But like, but I think maybe it was even more like I liked her style, and I liked her purple hair, which purple and mine is too, and I liked her like clothing, but like nobody was just like the middle kid, this other son. I know we talked about how much they did set up these people, but like he didn't seem like he was developed at all. The middle kid.
No, he was the stunted middle child.
Yeah, he was. He had
who was high all the time.
Syndrome. Like, yeah, that's all we know about him is he's high all the time, which I honestly couldn't even tell he was high. Like they didn't, but besides people telling him he's high all the time, like
he knew where Ezra was. That's how we knew.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fair. Ezra.
Yeah,
we
the
didn't
only
even.
thing he had going for him was he had the coolest co-character with him, which was the dog. The gorgeous.
Yes. Oh my God, that dog. Oh my God, that dog is so freaking cute.
That punched the son up to me at least, because at least I got to look at the dog whenever he was on.
Yeah. He. I don't even know anything about that kid really. Like he's just.
He likes space.
He likes black holes. I know that or whatever. That's about, and he gets high. That's what I know about him.
And looks at NASA photos. Just interesting character.
Yeah, that's what he is.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, Dave, I mean, I like Nick Cage's character only because of the Nick Cage-ness. Other than that, I mean, the characters. To Jamie's point, there's nothing to really love or even hate about any of the characters.
No, they're just there.
Yeah. They're literally. It's like watching a diorama unfold.
Yeah.
Basically, this is like we don't know anything too much, but since we mentioned Ezra, the Tommy Chong cameo,
it was great.
Like it was great.
That's my choice. I enjoyed.
Yeah,
I look forward to the Ezra moments.
Yeah, but it's just like I totally get why they chose him, but like, I couldn't even imagine the phone call. Like, I mean, it was probably like, you want to be in this movie? Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Like, you want to see the script? Nah.
No.
We'll send somebody to pick you up. Okay, man.
Yeah,
cool,
I always assume someone like that. He's just friends with one of them, the director, the writer, someone.
I'm sure.
It's just like they were like,
I'm pretty sure
and then
Cage
the
and him are
conversation,
probably tight.
or Kate, yeah, and then the conversation that you just said. That's what happened. They're just like, you want to be? He's like, yeah, sure.
But the funny thing is, when he's in there, he seems so in place. Like,
Mhm.
of course, he lives in a shack made of windows in the middle of the woods, where he's literally squatting on somebody else's land. Like that's how we're introduced to him. Is Nick says, "Oh, you mean the squatter?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
he's
said
down
our
that way.
squatter. Yeah, he lives. Yeah, he won't talk to you or whatever. Which I found that funny too, because Nick Cage is like, if he'll talk to you, and then he was the friendliest guy
yeah.
I've ever seen in my life. Nick Cage is like, if he'll talk to you, and he not only like answers the door, he welcomes them right in and wants to know if they want to get high, if they want tea, if they want, like, it's like he's like the most welcoming host I've ever seen.
I have a mental image of that character meeting Nathan, the Nick Cage character, and going, "You're an asshole." I can see him showing up at the door and saying, "I just want to make sure you were aware that I'm the owner of this property, and you're going to see some alpacas around. I'd really, really appreciate it if you not disturb or upset my alpacas." I can see that story also happening.
Yeah, the alpacas were so goddamn cute.
They were.
But I like alpacas. But yeah,
Animal of the future.
Yeah, I mean, his house also had elevator buttons outside of it.
I saw that too. That's
like,
one of the things.
Like a panel of elevators.
Yeah.
When they walked up to it, it's like a panel of elevator buttons. I'm like, okay, not even like maybe the buttons. It might have been the lights that like light up, because I don't. But whatever. It was a panel of elevator. Like, and I was just like
Christmas lights on the outside.
He had such weird shit in there. Like, I could probably spend weeks. I should have like paused it and just looked at what shit was building his little house, his little hut house.
Oh yeah, he had a bunch of electronic equipment inside, from where you would like repair old televisions and stuff like that. Which I guess makes sense. You just show up with whatever you got and you make it work.
Then he had the Memorex reel to reel, where he had to record it so you could hear the man underneath.
Did you hear him brand drop there? You know, you can't really hear it till you got the Memorex.
It's like, is Memorex still in business? But no, the best part about that house was when it started raining and you see the water just coming right in the house. It's just like, it's great.
That house is tarps and windows. That's all that is.
Leaky tarps.
I also kind of love that. I mean, I honestly, I dig that. And the fact that the second time the scientist guy shows up, like he's in full war paint, like not war paint, but he's in Aboriginal paint of going on some spiritual journey, and it's never referenced at all.
No.
It's just
what you doing? Oh, I'm just listening to the earth, man. Okay.
Oh my God. The scientist guy, for being the narrator, like the opening and the closing.
Yeah.
And I guess a pivotal part / hero of there's no real hero of our story. He just survives. I get survivor.
Yeah.
I couldn't give two shits about that guy. I mean, again, I said I really couldn't care about anybody, but I really couldn't give two shits about that scientist
I couldn't
guy.
get there with him either.
Like, like he didn't appeal to me, no matter what he did, no matter how much flirting he did with the daughter or cutesy they were. Like, there was just no amount of like anything I gave two craps at. Maybe if he saved someone or accomplished something, rather than showing up and saying your water's tainted well after we all know that fucking the water's. Like, way to show up when it's way too late, buddy. Like,
I think something's wrong with your water. No shit.
It's just like he can't even break into the attic and help. Like, he's just like completely useless. Like,
it's like the audience surrogate a little bit, but he did offer up one of the better jokes for Nick Cage, where he called him the herbologist when he was all like freaking out.
He did.
There were some like nice subtle moments there, like for just like weird off the wall, just between that. But that kid, he had the best moment at the end of the movie where you just see him taking drags off a cigarette as he's like narrating. That was
give an F anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't drink water. You know, I wouldn't after that.
I wouldn't either. Just drink beer, man. It'd be good.
Fun piece of trivia. That character's name is Ward Phillips. And Howard Philip Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft. That's where Ward comes
Look at that.
Fun. And that's really the most interesting thing about him.
Yeah, it is. It's the most, this guy, he's like, God, from the
Nothing
moment he
against
shows up, he's just boring. He's just boring. Like he's
And I don't know if you had the same response to him, Jamie, but he kept reminding me of the guy from Cabin in the Woods, the bookworm from Cabin in the Woods, without any of the personality. But that's who I kept trying to see when he was on, because he had the same sort of his body language, the way he moved, the way he talked. He reminded me of that guy.
Oh, that guy from but that guy's way more charm. Is
Exactly.
like at least
He had
I see,
charisma.
but this guy has none. He's like trying
No.
to be him, but not.
Anti-charm.
Yeah.
But I guess we just keep coming back to like, they don't do a decent job at like, they spend so much time developing these characters to not develop them or not make me care about them, I guess.
Yeah.
Like not even not develop them, but just like, I guess I knew little trivia about each person, a little backstory about each person. I just didn't care. Like nothing, and again, I didn't hate anybody, but I didn't care about anybody. And then therefore, when this shit starts happening to this unfortunate family, I still don't care, even though like, again, they don't deserve it. There's no rhyme or reason behind it, which is what you guys were talking about. We'll talk about it. There's no explanation. It's just for intensive purpose, for me watching it, I don't know unless there's no explanation. Something lands in their fucking yard and it just
screws their whole life up.
Yeah. Takes over everything. So lives in the well, moves into the well on its own one night. And
that's, I don't know. I guess that's another question. Is like, what do we think this is? Because there's bugs. There's bugs that come out of it. It's like an egg.
So it's like a nest. Or an egg, or like a pod, I guess, right? Or it's unleashing shit.
But what's all the light? Where's the light come from? Like, there's like so much. Yeah, it's.
Don't ask me because we know I didn't get it. So I just looked at the color.
Answer.
Yeah, I know. Eli, I knew it.
According to the short story, and this is one of the stories I had is. The short story was never going to be filmable. They had to make some decisions because in the short story, what actually lands isn't a meteorite. It's just this color starts showing up.
Oh,
a color, which they tried to do. I see that they tried.
But there wasn't anything substantial that hit the ground or like showed up. It's just this color started showing up. And according to the way it's described in the way Lovecraft describes it, it's a color that nobody's ever seen. It's a color that isn't in the spectrum. It shouldn't exist. This color shouldn't. And it starts to drive people crazy. And then those people start to realize that the color is actually controlling them. Like it's sentient. Like it's a being of some kind. So again, that was never going to be filmable.
No.
Which when this movie came out and it was called Color Out of Space, I'm like, how the hell are they going to? Because I was familiar with the story and I'm like, I don't see how you're going to do that.
Yeah.
I think the decisions they made sense. And I'm glad that the visuals still played a big part in it. But the whole meteorite thing just kind of, pun intended, didn't land for me. So.
I see, based on what you telling me about the short story, I see like what they tried to do. I see that in there. And I think in fact, and someone correct me if I'm wrong because I didn't read the story, but I thought they even give Nick Cage the line of saying it's like a color I've never seen, because then I said to myself, it's fucking pink. Like it's pink or a magenta. It's like a shade of pinkish purple. So yes, it's a color you've seen because it's pink. But to your point, then it's referencing the story and what's going on. But they are, they did incorporate the color a lot from the moment it lands. Like it's important to note too that I don't even know that we see it land. Do we? We see the color a lot though. We see the color in the sky, then we see the color as the parents are having sex. We see the color as the girls sleep. We see the kids see the color. We do see all that, like you just said. And I don't remember if we might see it actually hit or we just see them see it hit. We see everything shape.
Impact. We just see the kid at the meteorite.
Yes. Okay. So so they still try. I feel like they still tried to do color, but then they had to give it a physical representation, and they're like, okay, this pink fucking brain that just fell from the sky.
Which is funny because it lands. They all get around it and talk about what is it, and then the next thing we know is the scientist shows up and goes, "It gone.
It's gone.
Don't know what happened."
It just got up and walked away.
Came back to take tests and it's gone.
Yeah. And every time Nick Cage complains about the smell, I'm sorry, but I had to just keep thinking of Evil Dead because Jane Levy does that way better. And I really wish, and like from the first moment he says something about, don't you smell that? I'm just like, come on, stop it. Jane does this so much better. Mia does it way better with what's that fucking smell, like when she won't let it go. Like he didn't even really, I think he gets angry about it a little bit later when he's turning into like his dad or when he's shining all over the place. But like, yeah, I was just like, the first time he says it, I'm just like, no, Evil Dead did that better with the smell that he's smelling and like, you know.
There were so many weird decisions they made on each character's sort of reaction to it. Like Lavinia, she gets nauseous.
Yeah.
And then he has
she's pregnant all of a sudden.
And all this stuff. And then I think the brother has the least reaction, but it's like he keeps hearing something. It's weird that they're all different, but they're all kind of dispersed. But that goes back to what the point you made earlier, Jamie, and I agree completely. And I hadn't really thought about it until you articulated it, is they do spend a ton of time developing characters that they don't develop. Like even at the end, at the very end, when we're getting the final narration of Ward, I still don't know what his motivation is. Like, what is your freaking point, bud?
No idea. I was like, is it lost on me? Were you guys going to explain it to me? I have no idea. And I also felt like, and we know me. I love a good depressing ending. I don't need a happy, but like, I also thought the daughter was our hero. Like, I felt like we had nobody to rally behind. I thought we were rallying behind her, but then we get thrown the scientist that we don't give two shits about. Yeah. And
well, if she is, what's her motivation?
Right.
It's odd choices are made all around because also the family, like you said, they're all impacted, but they seem to go completely on and completely off. Like she seems to be completely sane for a moment and then flipped. And I totally get it. That could be the point, but it's like, it loses me because it's destroyed. It's just like, well, is she impacted or not? Or why can't like in this moment that she's not impacted, let's just fucking get the fuck out of here already. I don't even care that it's 12 miles through the woods. Just start fucking walking. Just get out of the perimeter of this fucking thing that like is
just leave. Yeah.
Take it. Look what it did to your mother and brother. And we have not even fully fucking talked about it conjoining two people into one.
The car is not happening though, Jamie.
The car is not happening. Yeah, the horse runs away, which again because the horse should have left way before that. He was smart enough.
When
he
finally gets out. When you leave.
Oh, it's when you run right behind him. Just follow him. He's probably got the safe trail. And look how quick. Yeah, look how quickly the car saw him on the road. He got to a road. Just follow him. Just fucking follow the horse.
I like how that was the sign for those guys to be, wow, something's really wrong.
Uh-oh.
Like, that's the sign? The horse.
And he's like, that's Lavinia's horse.
That's the magic unicorn pony.
First of all, can we talk about this family? I don't know anything about horses. Dave does, so he can. But like, this family who inherited this farm and seems to have no clue how to handle a farm. Like you said, he decides alpacas is going to be his money-making thing. Where'd they get this beautiful white steed with like black? Like I was just, is that a common horse? Like it just doesn't seem common. I expected a brown horse, maybe a black, but they had this like fairy tale. She shows up the first scene riding a white horse with the cloak, like you guys mentioned. And I'm just like, what decade is this? What is happening?
Why am I watching a legend all of a sudden? And then
it's like she's just a normal teenager. Like she gets to her house and it's just like, oh, she just happens to have a fucking cloak and a white horse and do magic, but she's just a normal teenager. They live in a normal farmhouse and like everybody's just, they're on the internet. The mom's doing stocks or some shit. I couldn't tell what she was doing, but there was like a ticker. So I was like, oh no, I guess it's like.
Yeah, she's an analyst of some kind for sure.
Yeah, she just keeps losing clients, guys. She just keeps losing clients.
Gotta get this freaking Wi-Fi fixed. It's costing millions. Why did you move out there? But to your point about the horse, I guess in my own head, the decision I had made is that what I knew of Lavinia was that if she was going to go live out in the middle of nowhere, there was some strong negotiation that happened with her parents. And I bet that horse was
that white horse.
Wow.
Look at the book she's reading and her wardrobe. She screams
white horse. Yeah, of course. I was just like, it was just a very, and again, this is how we like start the movie for those who haven't seen it. It's like literally Lavinia and her white horse doing magic with her purple hair, well, purple tinted hair, whatever, like underneath and like in a circle of candles and doing whatever and her cloak. And I'm just like, what? Where does this take place? I thought it was like now. And then like, oh, it is now. It's
that's the fun
And then
part.
the
It
scientist
is.
walks up. Yeah.
and then and then he looks totally out of 2020. He's just like a college dude or some nonsense.
Yes.
I don't know.
What are you doing?
Then he was real apologetic about interrupting the weirdo doing a witch ritual.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Oh my God.
And he, for some reason, had some deep knowledge of witchcraft. Like
He knew which witchcraft is what I was trying to say.
she was doing.
Like,
Yeah.
she's doing.
Had
Yeah,
some
that's
sort of
just common
supernatural
knowledge.
Yeah.
yeah, obviously.
So we've talked around it, and it's time we actually get
time.
into it. Let's talk about our favorite horror moments in this
The
movie.
creatures.
And John, tell me, what is your favorite horror moment in this movie?
Oh, it's got to be the light melting two people together for me. Like that. I mean, it's
The
just like
burrito.
that's a great way to describe it. I would have never thought this movie would do something like that. It just wasn't. I don't know why. I just wasn't expecting that to happen. And when it did, I was just like, I was expecting them more of like to be like evaporated from the light.
Same.
And
I
then
think
it's
it's
like,
because it involved a kid, which more power to you. And I'm not even trying to be mean about it, but you never expect it because people don't go there.
yeah, that too. And then I mean the incessant like that, hearing that kid cry, like
Oh God.
it was. Yeah, and it was like an extended version of the bear scene from Annihilation. And I'm not going to describe it because Jamie hasn't seen it. But
I've seen that scene. Oh, trust me, I've seen that scene.
Okay.
That's the only scene I've seen from Annihilation.
But I think that one of the biggest parts of the horror of that is that they won't die. Like
right.
They are there for so long.
They're there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And like the kid's head's glowing and pulsing. I'm just like, whoa. Like, yeah. And then the mom is just like, can't even, like, she's like nonverbal now, but making noises. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot wrapped up in that whole scene. You get like, no, never.
Yeah, but the first time I saw it, I agree completely. When they showed something had happened to them, and then you hear a lot of stuff, but they never show it. And even when he brings them in the house, or you
still don't know,
or something like that.
Yeah,
and then they do this wide shot and just bam, full frame. There they are, and you're like, oh wow, they're going to show me what the hell happened.
What the fuck?
It is worse than I thought.
Yeah.
I was really impressed that they pulled that
melted together.
Yeah.
I mean, I was with you. I thought like I first thought they evaporated, but then we saw kind of them. So then I thought they like, unfortunately burned. Like it was light. Yeah. So I assumed it was very like harsh light, and it like gave them intense sunburn, so to speak. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it burned them or whatever. Yeah. And then it did kind of cook them together.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a whole other thing that I was not prepared for, but I was on board with it. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, that
this
part.
Is a thing I've never seen before.
Yeah, same. And you know what? I wanted that so much earlier because I was just like, that's batshit. Give me that though, like a little bit earlier when I was starting to just fade on this movie. Yeah. Besides her cutting her fingers off, there's a lot of just anticipation and build up, but like it's not even exciting anticipation or build up. It's just like this family running around, and why is she sick? Why are they losing time? I get it. They're fucking losing time. I get it. He's fed the alpacas 3 times. Like I get it. But like, you know, I needed that batshit earlier.
Yeah.
I still appreciated it, but I needed it earlier.
Yeah.
And even after that, it's like that is the coolest thing that happens. And then it goes back to The Shining where the dad is menacing.
Yeah.
He's chasing the kids and everything. Like, no, we've got a cool creature. Why are we?
Why are we not?
Yeah,
agreed. Because like I was like, can we go back up to that mom and son and like see what the fuck is going on with them? Because they keep transforming into something fucking worse every time. Like I can't. I mean, I think there's a few moments in this movie, and we'll get to like the alpacas too. But I agree that moment is the most striking and probably the best of horror. But I will say too of that, it's funny. It was. They get fused together. I was like, holy fucking shit. I did not expect that. And that's fucking great. Mm-hmm. Then it's brutal and they're moaning. Nobody's putting them out of their misery. They're fucking like, they seem to think a hospital is going to help these people. No chance. Like,
can you imagine being that night nurse? Like,
I was about to say that.
Help my mom and son. What the hell are you talking about?
What is this? But then it starts to mutate in a way. And there's one scene in particular, and unless I'm just seeing it wrong, but like there was one scene, I don't know if it's when he first locks the daughter in or it's when like they first leave, but it's where it's like kind of sitting upright now. And it's got like, it had like its head down. The mom's head is like down lower, but the body is, and it was like a really fucking creepy. And I was like, and it was in the background. So it was really fucking creepy because it was just like focus, in the, like, but then for me, it gets a little corny looking. Like it went from like them fusing got really cool. That was really fucking creepy. And then we know me, I like to see shit. But then the more it like evolved and got seen, and I still think there was CGI in it, it started to get like, and I always reference this monster, and I think it's because I fucking hate it so much, but it started to feel mannequin-y from Silent Hill 2. And I just like, every time we see something dumb, like at the end, no, sorry, spoiler alert, people, but like Evil Dead Rise has a similar thing for me. Like anytime I see something that's like, and maybe it's just me with the parts or moving like a kind of like a spidery kind of way or whatever. Like I always think that monster has destroyed me because that's all I ever associate anything with is this goddamn fucking stupid CGI mannequin monster. Yeah, so the mom and the son start off so cool to me. And then the more we saw it, it started to be like kind of silly looking. Not that the scene still didn't play out kind of cool. It's fine. I mean, being trapped up there with that thing, which we should like Nick Cage then when he transforms into his dad or whatever else he's transforming into with that goddamn accent, which I couldn't stop laughing at.
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, so God,
funny.
I couldn't
Was
stop.
that a Maine accent? I couldn't nail it down.
It was something.
There's some New England accent, wasn't it?
So he locks his daughter in there with it because he's basically feeding her to it, I think, because he says something about, he implies, I don't remember the line, but he literally says
like
about
your mom's hungry or something.
Yeah, it's like, he literally says something about feeding the daughter to it. So then we get more of it, and it's fucking weird. I mean, the whole concept and idea is crazy, weird, and cool. I won't discount that. It's something, like you said, you have not seen. I have not seen. Right. I don't know.
You haven't seen anything like that since The Thing. The Thing was probably about as close as we got to something like that.
And it's like, we get things like Human Centipede. We get experimentations on people, but we don't get this weird fucking like thing often. And maybe it's also outside my genre and we do get it more often, but I'm trusting with you guys too that don't see it that often, that this is like I
mean, the funny thing is the design is not very similar, but it's on the same page as the kind of designs of creatures we saw in Slither. It's just such a different tone of movie. That you don't expect it.
You're right. It is kind of, And I think to John's point too, I think the reason you don't expect it is because movies have done a good job of letting me believe, even though, we watch a lot of shit here and I appreciate directors or, that go outside that and not, I know I say a lot. It's not because not just because I fucking hate children, which people think, but it's just like, there's things that you don't do in horror. And I think we've all expected, even in 2024 still, that you don't do certain things. And children is one of them. And yes, this kid was not a baby. So I think that puts him a little bit, but he spent a lot of the movie with a stuffed animal, reminding you that he's young. He's naive. He was like, the youngest one. He was innocent. The baby. Yeah. Yes. And then you get the mom trying to protect him because that's also what's happening. So you think she's going to get fucked. And she does. No, they both get they both get fucked. It's like, and not in a fun way. Oh wait, ew, with a kid. Ew, sorry, I didn't even mean that. I forgot he was there. I forgot he was there. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, and and the cool thing is, it's like the whole consequence of it. Like the horror is the moment, but then the moment won't friggin' end.
Oh no,
it just keeps building. Which is another thing that you haven't seen. Usually when you, even like in some of the stuff we've referenced, like The Thing or Slither, once you have that monster reveal, it only is there for like 10 seconds and then you're on to the next thing. That freaking creature is like pivotal to the rest of the story in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. And it's again, and to your point earlier about the mom, this poor fucking mom. So now, everything in this movie happens to her. The cancer, she chops off her fingers, which we referenced, but like that's the first scene of something's wrong. No. The first scene that something's wrong is the mom is cooking, and we all know when someone is chopping something really close to your fingers in a horror movie,
it's coming.
It's either a fake out or it's coming. Like there's two choices here. Yeah. And I know that seems obvious. It can only be those two choices, but it's just like we knew where this one was going because like something was bound to happen.
Yeah, nothing
soon.
had happened.
Like something was bound. And she's like not listening to anybody. And you're just like, oh, there go the fingers with that carrot. And so the mom chops her own fingers off, then just says, I feel stupid, which is hilarious.
No,
There's lines in this movie that like, which also I wanted to say earlier when I said, speaking of getting fucked, I loved how when Nicolas Cage, when they're watching his interview on TV, first of all of it is hilarious.
It's so
but then
good.
he literally, it might not even be when he's starting, whichever one. It's either in the interview or when they first show up at the house. He has to include the detail that they were having sex for the first time.
Yeah.
In like 6 months. It's just.
It's part of the story.
Yeah.
And then he goes into, look at my hair. It looks so stupid.
Nobody could hand me a comb.
It's like things like that in movies that I always wonder, like, did Nick Cage add that line in because he thought it was fucking funny? Like, what? Like,
man, that interview was priceless. And then he started talking about his bourbon. Oh, man.
Drinking. They're like, have you had any drinks today? And he's like, well, last night and this weekend.
I do enjoy a bourbon from time to time.
So were you sober when this happened?
And the kids are just laughing at him.
His
like
hair
it's just
sticking
like,
up like
oh, it's so
my
good.
God.
That was a great scene. And again, I think this movie gets talked about and passed around more because it's a Cage movie.
Of course.
Yeah, probably.
Could you imagine anyone else doing this?
No.
No, up until he started, and that's why when I said, why is he in this in the whole beginning? Because the meandering beginning, I'm like, why in the world are we getting Nick Cage with glasses, sweater, dad? Like, where is, you only put Nick Cage, I'm sorry, Nick Cage, but we all know that you only put Nick Cage in things, even when he's not speaking, like Wally's Wonderland, to be Nick Cage. Like, that's the only reason you put him in things. And I was just like, and then finally he does like the accent for the first time or whatever he does. That's the first, like, the fucking tomatoes. Oh my God. Yeah. When he's fighting viciously into each one and spitting them and then starts throwing them in the trash can in the most animated way I've ever seen someone throw something in the trash can. I was like, oh, there it is. Okay. So at least it just took us a really long time to get there. But like,
his impersonation of his own dad, he slips into, he's talking to his wife. I was like, oh, there it is. Yeah. There it is. There's that crazy man.
I wonder if on paper this is even written like that, or this is just what happens when you put Nick Cage in it, right? Yeah. Like, I mean,
these are decisions he's making for sure.
And they're
the tomatoes was fucking out of control. I just
those
couldn't.
Gigantic tomatoes. I could have told you those tasted like crap.
It had like multiple butt cheeks going around the side of it.
So weird.
It's like, and he was calling them beautiful. I'm like, what are you looking at?
I was so excited about him.
Oh man, he had his gardening podcast going. He was ready.
I loved that. I felt very seen in that moment. I'll put it that way.
Oh man.
When they have that fight though, it's great because he's yelling about these tomatoes and she's yelling about the internet. And it's like the dumbest fight. It's like so disjointed. Like they're both arguing about two things. Nobody's listening to each other. Obviously, that's the point. But it's just like this fight was just bizarre.
But
he's
their
just
rage
yelling
is
about
both at a 10. They're just screaming at each other.
Yeah, and her answer, every time he yelled something at her answer was, fix the fucking dish. That was like,
I'm not hearing you right now.
I was like, oh my God, these poor kids. Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Been through a lot.
I think I'd burn a J or two myself if I was in that situation.
Go hang out with Ezra for the afternoon.
Yeah, because I sure as shit am not going down to the river to cast magical spells. That's
no, definitely not doing that.
Wherever the dog's going, I'm going to go. And I will say, I always dread, especially a dog like this. I mean, just a gorgeous dog. He seems like a good boy.
Yes.
But as soon as he runs out into the woods, you know what's coming. Then you hear the squealing, and you're like, "Damn it!" But then I'm right in that he is in the alpaca mound when it's revealed, right? Like that's his teeth and stuff because those are alpaca teeth. I think
he is. I thought so. Here's the thing: when they first. So let's go into the alpaca thing. So we get like the monster, right? And we get like, and we'll talk more about the monster, but like we get the reveal from the kid, I think is the first time. And yes, the first thing they show are teeth. So I thought it was Sam. I think the dog's name is Sam. So I'm like, oh, fuck, there's Sam. Like we see what happened to him. So I agree. I think they were showing a dog face first but then I got confused because then they show alpacas and I'm just like, oh, I guess the alpaca is just mutated into fucking fish, like teeth and like whatever. Teeth, like, yeah. But then we see the dead monster, and the cat is also in there. So
Exactly.
yes. So yes, I assume the
It's an
dog
animal
is
pile,
in
yeah.
there. Yeah, because we know the cat is in there. G-spot. We know G-spot is in there.
Oh,
The other
man.
dumbest fucking joke of the movie. But
Oh
like,
yeah, and of course they gave it to the pothead son to say, "I just love that name. It's so
explain
brilliant."
it. To had to explain it
Exactly.
to us. He had to explain it to
As
us.
if we didn't get it, he had to make sure. Whoever wrote that line was really proud of it.
Yeah. But so I too thought the first thing we were seeing was the dog head.
Mhm.
And then we saw the alpaca head. So then I thought, oh, it's just all the alpacas. But then when they explain it later that it's all the animals, I guess maybe if we go back and pause, there's a million animals in there. But it was weird, whatever it was.
Again, not explained at all. But when poor Sam runs out into the woods, I'm like, well, damn it. I knew it was coming.
Exactly.
As soon as you
I know.
see him, you know.
Yeah, of course you do. But yes, the moment a dog runs out into the woods.
But and
Most of the
again,
time.
because I have two dogs that are both very prey driven, that's like
Me too.
that's a very much a nightmare to me of my dogs jumping the fence and then what
They're
on
gone.
earth is going to happen to them.
I don't have, my dogs are not the size of Dave's dogs. And also I live in an apartment where Dave has property, but it's why my dogs have both trackers on them, backup leashes on them. And like, because, well, one more so than the other, but one is a prey driven hunting mix of hunting breeds, multiple. So
she'll just go.
Sari will take off as soon as she sees something. And that's a huge fear of mine is like, she is just gone.
She's
and then
on.
and then you're just like, and now with my new dog, he'll just take off after her because he's dumb. He's like, what
Where
is
you
she
going?
doing? Where are you going, sister? And he just runs because he's an idiot.
And for people who don't have dogs, that when we're saying prey driven, we're not saying a dog who's disobedient. A prey driven dog, when that switch is flipped, it's not that they're ignoring you. They do not hear you. The only thing that exists on the planet is whatever they've targeted.
Yes, I can back that up. It is a rough life. They don't hear you. They don't see you. They're just like prey, hunt, whatever, like, you know, and it is a mode that they can't even get themselves out of. Yeah. And it sucks because then they get lost or they get, you know, and they don't know. They just go until that animal is gone. And now they're just like, now they're back in reality.
Where the hell am I? Yeah.
And it's kind of like this movie. They lost time and they're just like, where am I now?
Yeah. Where's mom? Yeah.
Time dilation.
It's so scary. It's very scary. And like, everybody be careful, no matter how good your dog is, until you know it, like prey drive can take over no matter how much your dog stands by your side, no matter how much your dog follows you around.
Yeah.
That one thing. And then they just go.
Yeah. Even in our fenced yard, I can't let them out on their own. I have to be out there with them because if something were to happen, it would kill me.
Yeah. No, you have, it's, you know, but poor Sam. I think that was his name.
Yeah.
I think it was Sam.
Yeah, it was Sam.
So one little factoid that I found interesting, and also something that Jamie has said in the past, she wants to know about movies like this, is the director of this movie, whose name is Richard Stanley. Yeah, Richard Stanley. He had in mind to do a trilogy. Like he had already planned out and written scripts for a trilogy of Lovecraft movies. This was going to be the first one. The last one was going to be Call of Cthulhu, which would have been really cool. Because I do think he has a lot of skill at telling these kinds of stories. I think as far as a Lovecraft movie, he did a pretty freaking good job with one of probably the hardest concepts from Lovecraft to do. Unfortunately, it came out after this movie came out. His wife accused him of domestic abuse, just to put it that way.
Okay.
And SpectreVision dropped him like a hot rock, as they should.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that stuff just went away immediately because of this guy turning out to be a dirtbag. So I will say that on top of all the compliments we said, we have learned, and it seems to be legit because obviously it's cost him his entire career, which again, it should. So keep that in mind. And that does color some of the stuff. And we joked a minute ago about the G-spot comment and some of the other stuff that happens in this movie. Like,
and how they treat the wife.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing that we talked about who she
I did not know that
role she plays. It's a shame.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
But I guess from the bottom of the heart of the Wicked Wild Crew, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that. But I did.
As you can tell, I didn't care enough about this movie to do that much of a dive on it. So,
exactly.
Although I did see the fact that you just shared about how it was supposed to be the trilogy. I did see, because when I did do enough to just see if there was the Lovecraft story of the same name. Like, I just wanted to see what it was based on. I knew it was Lovecraft. I didn't know it was literally a story, because sometimes you just get told it's Lovecraftian. But this one, I was like, I know it's Lovecraftian, but I want to see what it's based on. And then I was like, oh, it's literally based on a story. So that was more.
Yeah, there was this one, Color Out of Space, which in the story, it's COLOUR.
Mm-hmm. I saw that too. Yeah.
Because Lovecraft's a fancy boy.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be that one and then the Dunwich Horror. And we know that because Lavinia is actually the name of one of the main characters in the Dunwich Horror.
Okay.
So that's where she came from. And then the last one was going to be Call of Cthulhu, which again, a shame that we're not going to see him. I think there's a huge potential there, but yeah, just get somebody else to helm it. And get somebody who actually is going to care enough about their characters to give me some sort of point of motivation from them. Even if Lovecraft didn't.
Even if Lovecraft didn't, though, you're making a movie now. So now you need
There's an expectation.
Because I need something more than
So it sounds like we've said our piece about Color Out of Space. I do want to give John the opportunity for the block that he's put together, since he's curated a list around a famous actor. I need to get the Cage grade for Color Out of Space.
So, the Cage grade. What's the parameters here? Are we doing like a 0 to a 10? We're going
to do an AF, a legit.
Okay.
Let's say A is full Mandy Madness, and an F is some kiss of death nonsense. So that's where does this land?
I mean, I think he was like I'm thinking. It's either like a B or a B minus. I mean, he's in there. I mean, but it's not like
he put the effort in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if to Jamie's feedback, I think if we would have shortened the beginning part, had more of the crazy Cage stuff throughout, we would be in the A territory.
Okay, I think I'm down with that. I would have given him a C plus, but
that's how I think too. I'm in that, and I don't watch a ton of Cage, but I'm also thinking of the movie that John's giving me for the end of this, and even that I think is probably more Cage than this is Cage. It's weird, you know what? It's like Cage has this whole thing, but
he's
like
all over the place. Yeah.
He is all over the place, and it's also like I feel like I say, I don't watch a lot of him, but I guess I do, but I also can't like. He's got this persona, but now if I'm sitting here literally thinking of, okay, so what's peak Cage? I can't even tell you right now because he's all over. He's all over the place, I guess. So like, I don't know.
Depends on your definition of peak.
I know.
There's some horror.
Face Off is Face Off.
Kiss. It could be Face Off. He gets extra cagey in that one.
He does.
Yeah. And then there's also Con Air Cage. Then there's the Rock Cage. I mean, both. I think that's at the peak of his career. Yeah. However, this I would say new renaissance of Nick Cage. It's just
that's
like
a different.
Thing. Yeah.
Was he in and the movie title might even be wrong. Was he in that movie Snake Eyes too? Like the casino one?
I think so, yeah. I've never seen that one though.
Oh, I have.
Yeah, he was. He was the.
It's like a thriller, right? Maybe it's like a thriller. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a.
Maybe I did see this.
It's very old, so probably
it was 90s, like 90s,
I guess. Yeah.
That's
so
not
like
very old, Jamie. Don't hurt me like that. I mean, that was just what
I know.
10.
We do the 10 in the 90s. It's 10 years ago. Yeah.
That sounds about right. That feels right.
20 years ago, don't you know?
Right. Like, yeah. It feels good. That feels right.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll see as we go through all four of these where they all rank. Like you might re-rank. You might because you might have seen these before. Yeah. And I don't think I've only seen the last one. I think I haven't either. Like the only one I've seen is the one you threw on for me. But like, yeah, you might re-rank them by the time you get to the end.
I mean,
you might have to
in our last episode, we're going to do our favorite Cage moments for sure.
Oh man,
I mean, and that to your point, Jamie, that's going to be hard because there's Firebird's Cage, there's friggin' Raising Arizona Cage, and then there's Con Air.
There's Ghost Rider Cage.
Ghost Rider Cage.
So bad.
It's there's a Cage for everyone.
I didn't see Ghost Rider, but I forgot about Ghost Rider Cage.
Sam Elliott's in that one.
That's like,
I mean, for me, as far as my first experience with him, Raising Arizona is pretty freaking fantastic.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've heard it's great. Same with Jamie.
Coen Brothers gig. I think it's one of their early movies, the Coen Brothers. But anyway, so I do have a Critter Corner
Oh, which one did you pick, Dave?
Guesses?
I'm guessing alpaca because we've done dogs and cats.
We are doing the Vicugna Pacos.
Ooh.
Of course. For Nathan, we've got to talk about the wise decision he made to become an rancher of alpacas in the middle of the woods with no pasture land or fences. Brilliant.
Wait, I'm sorry. Was his thing just alpaca milk though? Like, someone correct me. Like, what was he?
He wasn't breeding.
He wasn't breeding alpacas, right? So what?
Well,
he was just selling milk. Like,
he was really pitching the milk, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Is not why you raise alpacas.
No, and his daughter tells him that.
Yeah. So they were domesticated descendants of vicunas, which are South American camelids, which are humpless camels from South America, just like llamas. And there's several different, but they are alpacas are strictly domesticated. They were never a wild animal. They were always kind of purpose bred to be domesticated versions of vicunas. There are two main breeds, which are, and apologies up front for my pronunciation, Huacaya and Surrey are the two different breeds, mainly vary in the fiber in their coats, the kinds of fur. I think Huacayas, which are the more popular, they have longer, straighter wool, and while Surrey have kinkier, shorter, thicker, curlier hair. They live to be 15 to 20 years old, often confused with llamas, but they are a completely different strain of vicuna because llamas are much, much larger.
Yes.
They're like huge compared to alpacas. Llamas were always bred and used mainly as beasts of burden, like donkeys or mules are, like for carrying heavy loads, and as guard animals for other livestock, like donkeys or mules are used, like they were used for guard animals, while alpacas were always only strictly raised for their soft and valuable fleece, like their fur. They were
so
sheared like
cute.
sheep.
I can't.
And,
It's so cute.
If you've never had any, and Jamie, you would know, what is the alpaca fabric called once you've got it woven? It's got a specific name.
I don't remember, but you're right. It does.
I've got to look it up. But that's why you raise them. You don't sell the friggin'
milk. That's a picture though of like an alpaca and a llama together, because when I went to one of the sanctuaries and they had them obviously like hanging out together because they're of the same.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like, and it's interesting to see them side by side because they look similar, but they're so different. And like they've said too, like alpacas are way smaller than llamas. Like that's.
Yeah, they're tiny.
And they're furrier. They got that soft. They're like that. Maybe
it's just called alpaca.
Is it just alpaca?
Apparently.
Wool?
I thought it had a specific name. Anyway, I got to get back on track here. Let's see. They are ruminants like cows, which means they're cud chewers. They have a 4-chamber stomach, so they like to sit around and chew their cud, like these. We saw these several times doing. They were domesticated about 6,000 years ago, so they've actually been domesticated livestock much longer than cattle were. So, and they were domesticated by the Andean people up in the high altitudes of the Andes. They're very calm, very affectionate, very loving, very curious animals. They were bred that way, but they live among their people. They're not like out in the field animals. They like live in the villages with their people. They are spitters, like all camels are, but unlike llamas and camels that can just be jerks and spitters, an alpaca would never ever spit on a human out of respect unless that human had abused them, which I thought is a cool story.
I'm sorry, they're just so cute.
Like they very rarely spit on people, and apparently they only spit on people if they've been abused, as they've been cared for. So they hum when they're happy, Jamie. They hum a little tune whenever they get happy. And they scream like a person when they're scared. Like that goat you've heard, but they scream like a person.
God.
So I know what Jamie's going to be looking up when we get off of here.
Screaming alpacas. No, humming or whatever. Humming alpaca.
Yeah. So alpaca wool is the second strongest sustainable animal fiber on the planet, second only to mohair. So it's also extremely durable fabric. And alpacas, my last fact, they come in 22 colors from blue to tan.
Blue?
It's very cool. Yeah, like a Russian
Gray.
blue.
Oh, okay.
It's that cool
Gray.
gray, like a cat
Wow.
can be. Yeah.
Man.
So there's your alpacas. One of the most fun parts of this little story was Nathan and his precious alpacas. No mind his burrito wife and son. What are the alpacas?
The alpacas.
Why are they out again? So we don't have our boy Eli, so we have no idea what's coming up next week for Campfire Tales. So we'll all be surprised together on that one. We do thank you for listening tonight. We hope that you'll subscribe and rate the show. Give us a comment. We always love hearing from people that listen. If you have any feedback or anything like that you want to send directly to me, you can send me an email at podcast, podcast, at thewickedwild.com. Speaking of, that is our website domain as well, thewickedwild.com. If you want to go learn more about the hosts or about some of the other stuff we're having, the poor website has literally gone to seed. We all of us on the show have a ton going on right now with new jobs and moves and everything else. So just bear with us on the website. We'll get back to it and put up some new book reviews. I've definitely been reading plenty. I just haven't had the energy or time to write anything.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to follow us on social media, you can do that at X at Wicked While We Are, Slasher, the horror only community, at Wicked While We Are there as well. On Instagram at Wicked Wild Pod. And you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can watch our reviews and our Campfire Tales on YouTube. We also started adding a few shorts on there as well, but you can just search the Wicked Wild Podcast to find us there as well. Anything else? Anything else going on with y'all? Anything else to promote? Well, I look forward to, I don't know about you all, but I am looking forward to spending the beginning of summer with Nicolas Cage and you all. It's going to be a lot of fun. We do thank you. I do have one question for you, John. Why was Nathan's alpaca farming enterprise failing?
He was trying to sell the milk.
It's because people found out they weren't cage free.
Oh my God.
That is a good one.
Night.